officially recording, and I officially have my notes open. So let's get started. Today, what I want to talk to you guys about is the title of this webinar is A Decluttered Mind. So I want to talk to you about mindsets. I am Whitney English. I am the creator of the Heart Goals goal setting method. I also founded a planner company in 2012 called Day Designer. Lots of people know me from that. And ended up selling it 2 years ago, sold the business. I still work with the Day Designer team. And actually, in the final webinar on Friday, I'm going to be showing you how I put my goals into my planner. So that's going to be on Friday. But in this video, I want to teach you some strategies that have helped me overcome my fears in order to achieve my dreams. But even more importantly than that, these strategies have helped me uncover time, which is just such a gift. And that's allowed me to focus more on my kids and my family in their most formative years. And that is the biggest gift that this method has given me. And I believe it can give you your biggest, deepest desires as well. In the last video, I talked to you guys through, and I know if this is the first one for some of you guys, you might want to go back and watch that recording. If you need a copy of that, you can email me at hello@whitneyenglish.com, and I can make sure that you get a copy of that recording. But in that video, I walked you guys through the pitfalls to traditional goal setting and gave you some prep questions to help you remove any hidden obstacles that might prevent you from creating a solid plan for achieving your goals. We talked very importantly about the real reason why our goals fail, and it's not because we have failed or because we're lazy or we didn't try hard enough or we just got distracted. It's because we didn't have a solid plan in place. We didn't use a solid system for setting our goals. And we talked about how the SMART goals goal setting method was never intended to be a personal goal setting process. And that is what Heart Goals is intended to be. And I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit. So today I just moved my notes and I have to refocus. I want to teach you about the number one most important thing you need in place if you're going to achieve your goals. Like, you're not going to achieve your goals if you don't work on this thing that we're going to talk about. I want to let you in on the organization method that I use to organize my goal list. This is going to be an entirely new way of thinking for a lot of you guys, so pay close attention to that. And I'm also going to share 7 ways we can declutter our minds. And I'm gonna cover a lot of ground. I know your time is valuable, so I'm gonna try to be as clear as possible. And if you need clarification, ask me so that I know to explain something better. But grab a piece of paper and a pen so that you can take some notes. So if you're just starting out in goal setting, I want to say this, or you're feeling scared or overwhelmed, maybe you've not set goals before, or maybe you've set goals but haven't achieved them, I want to tell you not to worry. I understand. I have been there before. I have been frustrated with my goals because I have not been able to achieve them. And it's taken me years to figure this method out. I've learned a lot of painful lessons along the way, but if I can implement this method and it works for me, you can implement it and make it work for you as well. I fully believe that. And then, yes, really briefly, in the next workshop on Friday, I already said this, but it's in my notes, so I've got to say it again, show you how I plug my goals into my planner and give you some insight into what my personal goals for 2019 are going to be. So now moving straight into this, I don't believe in magic, but there is one foundational skill set that when I implemented it, it changed my goal setting and it fueled the success that I feel like I've achieved today. The things that I'm really, and I'm not talking about financial success, I'm talking about family success, all that, like all the stuff that makes life rich that doesn't have anything to do with finances. That's how I define success in my own life. And it really doesn't matter how smart or passionate or talented you are if you don't have this one skill set in place. And it's something that everyone can learn if you feel like it's something that you don't have just, innately. And that skill set is your mindset and your ability to discipline your thoughts and control your mind. And this is coming from somebody who historically has been pretty undisciplined, not self-disciplined, pretty inconsistent. I like to jump from thing to thing. I like to chase all the ideas. But I have had to learn how to curb those tendencies in order to achieve my goals. And I'm going to tell you how I have done that. A lot of people think that there are 4 negative mindsets that I want you to focus on changing. And there are worksheets for this. Actually, I'll tell you this as well. The cart opened this morning for the next edition of H.E.A.R.T. Not the next edition. How do I explain that? This is the 3rd round. There you go. The 3rd time I've launched this year. And it's open right now, so you can actually go buy the packet. It's a PDF digital packet, and you can download it. And what I'm getting ready to walk you through is a lot of what it's 3 parts. And this talk about mindset that I'm going to talk with you guys about is much of the first section. And so a lot of people think that we're born a certain way, like we're born smart or not smart, that we're born outgoing or extroverted or introverted, that we're born with positive mindset or we're born a negative mindset. And I want to tell you right now that that is not the case, that mindset is a skill that we can all develop and implement. And there are 4 angles of this I want you to think about. The first one is a fixed mindset. And the reason I want you to start that one is because I want you to start today. I want you to start believing that mindset is a skill set. Mindset is not something that you were born with. You can do anything that you set your mind to. You can change. It is not there's an author named Dr. Carol Dweck who actually wrote a book called Mindset. And in that book, she talked about students, young students, like in elementary and high school students that believe that they can change are more likely to have better grades than students who believe that they were just born smart. So a way we implement this in our household with my kids is we tell them that they're growing their brains, that smart is something you become. It's not something you are, because we don't want them to have a fixed mindset. We want them to believe that their potential is unlimited. And I want you to start trying to implement that belief into your life today, in this very moment. You have potential, you have ideas, you have gifts that the world needs. And the first step to sharing those gifts and ideas and dreams with the world is believing that you can, believing that it's possible. The second element of mindset that I want you guys to think about changing or start changing today, if you're really ambitious, is negative self-talk. And I briefly touched on this in the previous workshop. I do negative self-talk. Some people think in pictures and some people think in words. I think in pictures. So it took me a while to realize that I had a lot of negative self-talk in my brain because I wasn't actually thinking words. I wasn't looking in the mirror and thinking, man, Whitney, you need to lose a few pounds. I was looking in the mirror and just seeing something I didn't like. And I would probably make a face. It wasn't like an audible series of words that ran through my head. Did I mean to mention growth mindset instead of fixed it? Heather, growth mindset is the opposite of fixed mindset, and Carol Dweck does talk about that in her book. I don't know if I said the wrong thing, but definitely believing that your mind can grow instead of that you can become smart, that you can become gifted, that you can become anything you want to become. You do not have to be who you currently are. You have the ability to become. And yes, that would be growth mindset. Thank you for pointing that out. So on the negative self-talk, I would like to challenge you to think about that in the same way that I learned about that it wasn't like actual words going through my head where I said, man, Whitney, you're just terrible at this, or why did you screw up again? And now if I find myself starting to, and this takes time, guys, this is like a little by little thing. I have shared with my husband what a challenge negative self-talk is for me. And so he'll even encourage me. Last night we were in the car heading to dinner with our kids, and I said something, I can't remember what it was. I said something kind of negative about myself. Oh, I think I said that I wasn't a great speaker. And he was like, you're a gifted orator, Whitney. I was like, you're right, I am. And not that I necessarily believe that. It's sort of this fun and games thing that we do. But I know that if I say things like that and agree with him when he says things like that I will increase my abilities in speaking, just simply because I will be believing that I have the potential to do that. So that's where negative self-talk can be replaced with positive self-talk, and you can improve stuff there. The third way I want you to think about adjusting your mindset today is scarcity thinking versus abundance thinking. And has anybody heard of that before, scarcity thinking versus abundance thinking? Scarcity thinking is when you believe that there's not enough. There's not enough pizza in the pie for everyone. There are not enough resources in the world. There's just this overall, and scarcity thinkers tend to be pretty negative. They're pretty pessimistic. Abundance thinkers, on the other hand, think generously. They end up giving and providing a lot of value to the people in their lives and in their businesses, simply because they don't let fear hold them back. And the way they're eliminating that fear is that they are believing that there is enough for them and the world. And this is hard. Again, this is something that we can be programmed into from a young age, thinking that there is not enough, or thinking that we have to fight for every single thing that we get, or another scarcity belief is, I see it in women in competition in business. I see it in all businesses in competition. It's if they do this, then we're losing. And that's not the case. Like, competition can actually be something where both parties win. You have to believe that that's possible before you can start to see that. Stacy says she knows, she's a scarcity thinker. So Stacy, you know what I'm talking about. The fourth area of your mindset that I want you to work on changing is it's called what I call limiting beliefs. And I've never been to a Tony Robbins conference. I'm very excited because my husband and I are going in March. And I know Tony Robbins talks a lot about limiting beliefs, and I'm going to learn what he says about that. I haven't heard. But what I fully believe is that there are lies about, and we've covered some of them in the previous 3 topics. Negative things are lies that we believe. Not believing there's enough, that's a limiting belief. It's just a really big one when it comes to mindset. Not believing that I can change or grow, that's a limiting belief as well. And there are lots of other limiting beliefs that we have. Let me think of an example. I've used an example in previous workshops, so I'm trying to think of one. But let's say that I wanted to learn how to box. I'm just picking a very random sport out of thin air. Right now, I don't believe I'm a boxer, and so I'm probably not going to be able to learn how to box. But an even more deeply held belief is that I don't like to sweat. I'm not big on workouts. And even more deeply held belief than that is, well, if I don't like working out, then I'll never find an exercise that I like. And even more deeply held than that is, well, since I don't like exercise, I'll just never be able to be a fit person. None of that is true. It's just a series of beliefs. And so a lot of times when people talk about changing limiting beliefs, they are talking about they're talking about saying, I want to be a boxer, so therefore I'm just going to wake up every morning and look in the mirror and say, I'm a boxer in the mirror. But the thing about limiting beliefs is you have to go a lot deeper than that surface level. So if you set a goal to, make $100,000 in 2019, you're going to have to, with the beliefs that could potentially be holding you back from achieving that goal. And it's not necessarily, the surface belief on that would be, I don't believe I can make $100,000 next year. The deeper held beliefs are going to be about your abilities and what your likes and dislikes and things like that. So that's why I add, even though limiting beliefs is it could almost be an umbrella over a lot of these things, it's a very separate category when you start talking about how to get down to those more deeply held beliefs. So I hope this makes sense. Did that make sense? Let me know if you need any clarification on that. The reason why mindset is so important is that if you don't know how to control your thoughts and discipline your mind, you can't change anything. There's a famous quote by a guy, I don't have it in my notes. I think it's Oscar Wilde. No. It's if you can't change your mind, if you can't change your mind, you can't change anything. I'm trying to think of who it is. I'll find it and let you guys know. But we're absolutely finished if we can't change our minds. And I have learned in working on changing my mindset and my thinking to realize that this is something I can turn on and turn off. It has become easier to flip a switch in my brain whenever I find myself going negative. And that hasn't happened quickly or overnight. I do think some people have an easier time learning this than others. I think that I'm one of the people who's probably been on the slower side of learning this. But I have started to recognize that if I'm going there, I can turn this stuff around a lot more quickly than I used to be able to. And I feel like that has rapidly helped me make more progress on my goals. And I can share more about that on Friday as well. The next thing that I want to share with you guys today is 7 ways we can declutter our minds. And I don't know about you. I'm going to ask a question. I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you feel like do you ever sit down to work and you feel like you can't work until you clean your house? This is totally me. Does anybody else feel like this? Or you just feel like your house is never clean, and so you just are constantly working in the midst of clutter and chaos, because that's also me, full disclosure. I think with 3 kids, my husband and I just really fight with keeping everything in order. So cleaning the house actually ends up becoming an excuse that keeps me from working. Okay, a lot of people understand what I'm talking about there. I've got a lot of yeses. The same thing is the case with our minds. And when we sit down to work and our minds are cluttered, we are not going to be able to be as effective. And if our minds are cluttered, we're not going to have as much clarity. And this is going to affect our productivity. And our productivity is going to affect our ability to achieve our goals. So this is 7 ways. I feel like we all know that we need to declutter our homes and our closets and our drawers and all those things. But today I want to talk about 7 ways you can declutter your mind. The first thing, this is not a way, this is just a foundational element of this. The way we need to identify things, it's the same way you would clean out your closet. You ask yourself what's essential. or Marie Kondo says, what brings you joy? And I mean, it's the things that connect to our emotions that give us meaning and purpose in life. And those are the things that we actually need in our lives. Those are the essentials. And the first step to decluttering your mind is going to be identifying, and I have a list of essentials, is identifying what is most important, what the essentials in your life are. And once you identify what's essential, you can eliminate everything else. I started on this minimize and eliminate thing last year, and I have become ruthless at it. I believe that decluttering is also a skill that you can build into your life, as I have seen that in my life and my family's life over the course of the year. I have gotten much better about throwing away physical things and also decluttering my mind. So once you've identified what's essential, then you can identify what's essential, and you can cut those things out of your life and out of your mind. Okay, so here are the 7 things. One thing that is not essential in our lives is swarming thoughts, like just the constant to-do list or trying to keep everything in our head. And the way that we eliminate this is by bullet pointing lists and journaling. So writing things down. I call it getting it out of your head and onto paper. It is such an important step in decluttering your mind. I would actually, my doctor one time, I went to her and I was like, I'm having trouble sleeping. And she was like, I'm not going to give pills. I want you to take a notepad and a pen and write down all of the thoughts that are in your head every time you can't sleep. And I started doing this, and it's amazing. It is hands down an amazing tool for helping me get to sleep. And if we make getting stuff out of our heads and onto paper a daily practice by using our planners and journaling and just keeping a notepad in your purse to write things down if you don't carry your planner with you or whatever, we're going to be decluttering our minds. We're going to be creating space for what really matters when we do that. So the things that I would recommend on that would be list making as part of your morning and evening routine. It could be a to-do list. It could be a done list or what you did today list. But just list making. And then also journaling. I'm not great at this. I used to be awesome at it, but kids can definitely take a million different directions. But just sitting down once a day if you can and spending 15 minutes writing. And then you can build that up into a longer writing session if you like. Journaling is the best form of the freest therapy you can find. So it's going to be hugely helpful in helping you get a better mindset in place to achieve your goals. Okay, thing number 2 is another thing that is not essential to our lives is decisions. And something that we can do to eliminate those is automate and streamline as many decisions as possible. And it's been said that Barack Obama only had like 2 colors of ties or something, or maybe he, Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs are also famous for wearing the same thing every day. Steve Jobs always wore his black turtleneck. Mark Zuckerberg was the hoodie. What you wear is a great way to streamline and eliminate decisions. I like wearing striped shirts, so I have a lot of them, and that means I need dark pants to contrast with those, or light pants, solid colored pants. So one way that I have automated my decision making is making sure that I can touch almost anything in my closet, pants and a shirt, and it's going to go together. It's going to match. I'm going to be able to, and I just don't want to overthink what I'm going to wear every day. Our brain is a muscle, and it actually gets tired throughout the day. That's why if we're trying to diet, it's a lot hard. That's why it's hard to say no to the glass of wine at the end of the day. And for me, another way that I've automated decision making in my life is instead of trying to self-discipline myself in the evening when my brain is tired and is not going to make the right kind of decisions is I just don't eat until noon. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. But that doesn't work for me. And I'm not going to be scared and ashamed to admit that. That is a way I've automated a decision that is helping me stay in the best shape I have ever been in. Frankly, it's been amazing for me. So think about what decisions you find as you go through your day. Think about what decisions that you find yourself making and try to think if there's a way to automate those. Another thing that you can do if you have, if somebody asks you a question, it could be your husband or your spouse, significant other, whatever, saying, "I'm gonna want to go to dinner tonight." Instead of you making that, this is what I call smart lazy. Instead of you making that decision, just turn the question back around on them and say, "I don't know, where do you want to go to dinner tonight?" And then don't be picky about it. Just literally let them pick. I'm gonna have to stop and take a drink of water, you guys. But do not burden yourself with the belief, again, limiting belief, that you are the best decision maker in your life. Dump some of those decisions onto other people. Okay, the third way we can declutter our minds is by streamlining things into a morning and evening routine. This is going to help eliminate decisions in the sense that it's like, do I get up now or do I lay in bed and look at Instagram? Do I brush my teeth before coffee or after coffee? These are things that I actually have wondered about. I wonder what time I should start work today, or just anything like that. All of that stuff can go into a morning routine. And if you don't have any morning routine at all right now, you just need to start with one thing. And it might be a certain time that you decide you're going to roll out of bed, or the first thing that you're going to do when you roll out of bed. But streamline a morning and evening routine. That is going to eliminate decisions. It's also going to eliminate wasted time. And it's an essential in helping you be a streamlined, efficient, highly productive, super operational human. Okay, the fourth thing that is essential to our lives is relationships. But the thing that we need to eliminate in relation to relationships, funny way to say that, is toxic relationships or distractions. And a way we can do that is by overcoming our fear of saying no. Does anybody on this webinar feel like they fight with their ability to say no? Does anybody feel like a friend is like, let's go to lunch, or we should go do this? Or do you feel like distractions end up popping into your life and prevent you from making progress on your goals because people have asked you and you feel bad about saying no? Does anybody feel like that? Anybody? Taking another drink of water. Okay. Well, for one, it is a thing that has definitely been a struggle in our house. If that is not you, you are one step ahead of the rest of the world. This is the first time I've done a webinar where nobody said like, yeah, that's me. That is awesome, you guys. You are seriously next. This is something, I read a book by Dr. Henry Cloud years ago called Boundaries, and that significantly helped me be able to say no to people and focus on my list and my goals first. It's been a much longer journey for my husband, and he has only learned in recent years how to say no to things. And the first time he did it, I remember he had an important relationship with someone, and he had to draw a boundary with them, and he was terrified. It kept him up all night. He didn't know how he was going to explain this, and he did it. He was like, Whitney, that wasn't that hard. I said, yeah, it's not. Like it's a skill set that can be developed. So if you're watching the recording of this and you're feeling like you relate to that, that book, Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud, is something I would really recommend. But try to work on your ability to say no. Okay, the fifth thing in eliminating stuff is eliminating actions that don't move you toward your goals by prioritizing your goals the right way. I'm going to talk to you guys about what this is in a second, So right now, I'm not going to go in depth on that, but the thing is to look at our actions, look at our task list, and anything that is not going to move us toward our goals, we need to cross off ruthlessly. Oh, there's Sherry Lynn. Welcome. She's typing something. And I'll talk more about that in a second. The sixth thing is, and this is going to be a tough one for you guys because it's tough for me. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand unless you feel like it. But we need to eliminate addiction and we need to implement self-discipline by turning off screens and unplugging and practicing being present. And this is super hard. I have been working more and more on my business lately, on heart goals, as you guys probably have seen and are hearing. And just any type of business involves being very on social media these days. It is almost impossible to not have an Instagram account and have a business. So turning off the TV is a big one for me. If I'm going to have to look at a screen, I don't want it to be a television. I was saying this to a friend last night. I was like, I realized I wasted a lot of time this weekend when I could have been working. And not that I'm a workaholic. I can turn on the TV and veg out. But I just don't feel good about myself when I do. And so I'm not going to turn it back on. Putting down my phone is also really hard for me. I was at dinner with my family last night, and I will actually set a little mini goal for myself to put my phone in my purse and not pull it out during dinner. Even if somebody says like, well, what direction, where do I need, what's the address for something? Or, maybe we're having a conversation where we're debating something and, it could be solved with a simple Google, like who's right and who's wrong. It's a goal not to pick up my phone. And that's another great opportunity to have like a notepad in your purse and you can just pull it out and be like, I'm going to Google this later. Just keep a list of that stuff. But you have to be intentional to do that stuff. And then the last element of eliminating what's not essential is we can eliminate anxiety by practicing simple meditation practices. And this is also something that I have not learned until recently in life. Being present is, and I am not a guru, I'm not a yoga guru or anything, Zen guru, but being present and meditating are very similar. For me, they involve the same steps. And it's back to mindset. It's part of decluttering our minds. But I'm trying to think. I did this last night. I was in the car. I got in the car. We were going to dinner. I'm using this example a lot. And I said to my husband, I'm just feeling very anxious. Like I'm just feeling very overwhelmed. And there weren't even thoughts swirling. And meditation teaches you that you need to deep breaths. So I did the deep breaths. And then another thing that my husband and I have learned in meditation is to envision a river. This is corny, but it works. Envision a river, and there's a stick in the river. The stick in the river is your thought, and you just let that thought float on by. You don't grab it, you don't pick it up, you don't try to control it, just let it float by. Then there's another stick, you just let it float by. And so sticks floating is a very important element for, it's a very important meditation practice for me, that if I'm having a crazy busy day and really out of control, I will just take a minute, 60 seconds, 5 minutes max, and let the thoughts float through my head. I don't even write them down at that point. They are released because they might not be important. They might just be something I'm allowing to swirl that isn't going to help move the needle on my goals. Okay, so once you have your mindset in place and you're believing the right things and you're seeing possibility, and possibility has given you options, you're ready for a plan. And this is different than any goal setting you've ever done before. This is the heart of heart goals, and this is what woke me up and turned me into a passionate lover of goal setting. And it's the one thing that can totally transform your life, I promise. And that is that the order in which we prioritize our goals. And frankly, once you learn this order, once you've got it committed to memory and you know exactly what the 5 categories are, you can really quickly go through your day and eliminate what's not important. You can declutter your mind using this method. And that method is H.E.A.R.T goals. And for those of you that this is your first workshop with me, you've never heard this before probably, and so I'm going to walk you guys through it. And H.E.A.R.T is an acronym, just like SMART goals. A lot of people in the last webinar said that they had heard of SMART goals a lot. Anybody who's worked a job in corporate America, very, very, very familiar with SMART goals. H.E.A.R.T goals is, SMART goals was intended to be a business management tool. H.E.A.R.T goals is intended to be a personal goal setting method. So the first letter in H.E.A.R.T is H, and stands for help yourself. And this has to come first. This is all loosely based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When you prioritize your own needs first, I'm talking nutrition, health, and sleep. Sleep is probably number 1. Sleep is your first line of defense. So important. Implementing habits like writing that bullet point list before you go to bed are so important for a healthy mindset, and a healthy mindset is going to get you better sleep, and better sleep is going to help you make better decisions, and better decisions is going to help you be more productive and reach your goals faster. So a lot of us sacrifice our own personal needs for those around us. And if you're a new mom or you just had a baby, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You are full on sacrificing everything to keep that sweet infant alive. And that's important at that point in time in life. So there can be seasons for turning off self-care, but they don't need to be prolonged. They can't be indefinite. Ignoring our personal needs cannot become a habit in our life. That's called codependency. That's very bad mentally. That's bad for mindset. Another thing that I wanted to point out on the H for help yourself is I'm not talking about self-indulgence when I say self-care. Self-indulgence is very different than self-care because it's a motive. It all comes back to motive. Self-indulgence tends to be selfish and can often hurt people in your life in the long term. Self-care is making you better so that you can better serve the people in your life. So an example of self-indulgence would be putting a pedicure on your credit card. It's not a good decision. Even if it's going to relax you, going into debt for something that doesn't benefit the people around, benefit the people in your life, is not a smart idea. So that's a surface level, but I'm not talking about self-indulgence or going to get massages or things like that. I'm talking about sleep, health, and nutrition, and a lot of that can be done without spending very much money. Okay, the second letter in the H.E.A.R.T acronym, E, stands for empower yourself. And there are a few more E words that stack underneath this really well. Education, so any type of school or study would go in this category, just because that's going to improve your mindset and your ability to accomplish things. Emotional, spiritual, and mental health is another one that falls into this category. So anything related to your heart or your spirit or your soul would go in this category. And the last word that I love, and it's a word that not very many people use anymore, but it's edify. And edify is really a very powerful word, but it means that you're learning and you're growing in all aspects of your life. So that would be mental, emotional, and spiritual education. So that is actually the best E word. But empower yourself. And so you've moved away from your physical needs and you're working on your mental needs. And this is going to work in sync with itself. You know, if you're having trouble with a self-discipline aspect that might occur in H under helping yourself, you're going to be able to adjust that via mindset under the E, the empower yourself aspect. And it's going to go back and help. All this is very synergistic. It will help you with the self-discipline angle, and then you'll be able to do more stuff under H for helping yourself. Am I making sense how it goes back and forth? The third letter in the acronym, let me know if you guys have any questions. Third letter is A, and that stands for all your people. And I like to think about my people as concentric circles. I'm at the core of this. I have to take care of myself first. Then I've got my immediate family, my kids and my husband. And then I have extended family and close friendships. And then on the very outside, I have acquaintances and audience. I have a business and I have people listening to me. And so I take care of my life, prioritize my people from the inside out. And again, this is very synergistic, because sometimes I need to do something, especially with my business on the outside, the audience and the acquaintance aspect of my life. I need to do something for them or with them in order to provide income for my family, which is the most important set of relationships I need to be taken care of. But by viewing my relationships as a concentric circle, it keeps me from codependent habits, and it always brings me back to them. So even if I have a season, again, this is like having a baby, but if there's a season where I have to take care of something else, I need to remind myself to come back to them and keep their best interest first and foremost in mind. The fourth letter in the acronym is R, and that stands for resources. This is all about stewardship. So this is the category that's more about stuff than any of the other categories. This is about money, your finances. It's about your house and your car. So these are things we need shelter. If we're going to have shelter, we have to maintain it. The air filters in my house have to be changed. The tires on my car have to be rotated. Anything that needs to happen in order to be a good steward of the physical things that I have falls into this category. The financial planning, savings, credit cards, stuff like that, that goes here. And then very last in the acronym is the letter T, and that stands for trade. And trade is a business. Trade stands for business and work. And this is led me to realize that SMART goals wasn't working for me. I was setting my goals years ago and stepped back and looked at them and realized that they were all business related. And this is probably one of the main reasons why SMART goals doesn't work for personal goal setting, is it doesn't account for all the areas of our life. I left off self-care and emotional and mental health, and I had left off my family. I had left off my personal financial goals and needs, and I was just focused on business goals and achievement and everything that the world says is success. And the way to not focus on that is to put that stuff last. And here's the thing with heart goals. Once you have this order of things memorized, self-care first, help yourself first, empower yourself mentally the second way, all your people, focus on them, resources, steward them wisely, and then put business last. Once you've got that really down to memory, really just adopted and synthesized in your heart, you can use that method to plan your days, your weeks, your months, your years, everything. Like you'll be like, what do I need to do today? And you just start with self-care. And you just, I need to drink a lot of water, or I need to go for a walk. Okay, great. And you can just go on down the list if you're trying to figure out what to do for the day. If you're trying to figure out what you need to accomplish for the month, you can look at the same thing. And so I started using this method to set my goals in order to provide balanced goals for my life. I didn't want my goals to be lopsided and all business related. I wanted to have goals for my kids while they're too young to set their own goals. I wanted to make sure we were on track with their education because we homeschool sometimes. I wanted to make sure that my mindset was where it needed to be. And in order to work on that, I was going to have to work on my mental health and my education about modern psychology and things like that. Therapy, lots of therapy, guys. So important. Okay, so that is it. That concludes what everything I have for you guys today. I'm happy to answer any questions. I thank you for being on this workshop with me. I truly believe that helping people stop the hustle, stop comparing themselves to others, and achieve their goals is my purpose. And I love that you trust me enough to join me in this. And if you liked this webinar today, I would love it if you would share it with anybody, especially if you have a friend or a family member who says goal setting isn't for them. I don't know if you've ever had somebody tell you that goals just don't work for me. I would love it if you would share this with them, or the first webinar too. And then I would like to invite you to join me on Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time, where I will be walking through my personal goals for 2019 and showing you how I put those in my planner right here. So thank you guys so much for hopping on there. Until Friday, stay in a good space. Stay positive, friends. Keep going for your dreams. And I will see you then. Bye.